Hi friends, my name is Donato with Stepping Stone Houses, and today we're going to talk about the ins and outs of selling your property through a real estate agent and what you can expect. Now, in my market in Boise, Idaho, there are about 5,500 active licensed realtors rearing to go. So your first step is finding someone you can trust, someone that understands why you're selling and what you're looking to do. That might be interviewing a few different agencies, interviewing a few different agents themselves, sitting down, making sure they understand your goals. Now, this person might be working with you for over a year. I recently saw a property that was listed for over 457 days. Turnkey property, 5-bed, 3-bath. So you got to be prepared to work with someone for a long time. Make sure it's someone that you can stand. So let's say you signed a contract with an agent, you're feeling good. Now you got to get the house ready to sell. Typically that means cleaning and staging. Cleaning, pretty obvious. You got to get the place professionally cleaned to make it look like it's fresh off the lot. It means cleaning the floors, the kitchen, the bathroom, carpets, that weird brown spot in the corner of the ceiling that you don't really know how it got there or why it's that particular color, but you got to clean that too. And you got to make sure the thing looks spotless. Next, you got to stage the property. Now, staging, there are professional staging companies that'll go ahead and for a fixed price per room, they will stage each room. I saw one for about $750 a room, but they'll come in and they'll look at the layout of the property, look at the lighting, the windows, the overall ambiance, how it walks, and they'll make sure that each room is staged with enough furniture, light fixtures, paintings, and little potted plants that look really cool. You can only get at like department stores. And they'll make sure that the entire house feels welcoming and warm. Because remember, when you're selling a house, you're not selling it to yourself, you're selling it to someone else. I know it seems easy to remember, like obviously, but that means that you have to sell the house in a way that someone else might want to buy it. It's not about your fashion sense, it's not about what paint you like, it's not about what furniture you like, it's about what your potential end buyer is going to like. So what that means is that you need to make sure that you're selling to someone else, not yourself. If you do this, and if you get a professional staging company to come in, and you make sure the property is marketed to a wide audience and a variety of tastes, you'll expedite your process and prevent your selling process from going months and months and months longer trying to find the right buyer. So you signed a contract, you've paid for a professional cleaner, you've paid for professional staging, you've got to get pictures taken. Your agent might be able to do that, or again, pull out the wallet, hire a professional photographer, have to take some photos of the interior of the property. That'll go on Zillow or Realtor, Trulia.com, and the MLS. Next, you gotta get ready for showings. Now, if you're selling a property, you get the whole thing cleaned, you get the whole thing staged, it looks awesome. You gotta decide, are you gonna still live there or are you moving somewhere else? Typically, if I have a property that is staged, clean, ready to go, I'm going to be living in an apartment somewhere else, or you have your next housing situation already set up. Because I don't want to run the risk of making my property dirty or breaking something or making it not ready to be shown. It needs to be in showing condition all the time. So make sure you have a pretty good idea of where you're going to be living. Or if you are going to keep living in the property, make sure you're living there minimally and being very, very careful. And you got to make sure that you're ready to show at any time. So if your agent gives you a call and says, hey, I got a potential buyer in from California, he's only here for the weekend, he needs to be at the property in 30 minutes for a showing, I need you to get ready. You got to be ready to clear out, clean up, and get out of there so that they can do a showing. Because remember, it's about your buyer being able to see themselves in the property. And if a buyer walks in and they see you chilling on the couch with pajamas watching TV, it doesn't feel like it's their house. Feels like they're a guest, and that's not property they're going to want to buy. So make sure you're prepped for showings, ready to go at any time. Next, let's say you get a buyer, and they say, you know what, I want to buy, let's do it. But let's say they want an appraisal. That means they're going to hire an appraiser. Usually they're professional independents, or sometimes they're associated with banks, but we're going to get an appraiser, and they're going to come out and they're going to say, what's the market value of the property? This is where I see the most disconnect with realtors and sellers. The higher a seller can sell the property for, the more commission a agent makes. It's a fixed 3% typically. Could be more, could be less. So it's in their best interest to sell the property as high as they can. and it doesn't really matter how easy it is for that to sell. They might know your property is only worth $350, but let's say they convince you to list it for $400. If it takes 6 months for it to sell, and it sells at maybe $380, you still got a little bit more, but after commissions and closing costs, it's not that much more. And it can take a long time for that right buyer to come along. So an appraiser will come in and they'll say, for the as is condition of the property, here's what it's worth. And that could work out well for you if the property ends up being worth more than you thought. Like, hey, great, hey buyer, you're gonna pay me more. Or it could also work not that great for you. If the appraisal comes back $25,000 less than you wanted, the first thing the buyer's gonna do is go, okay, well, I'm not paying any more than that number, because they don't wanna pay above market price. So you might have to get an appraisal done. Next, there's inspections and contingencies. Typically, the buyer's gonna come through and they're gonna hire an inspector. The buyer's gonna come through, inspector is gonna look at the systems like HVAC, plumbing, and electric. They're gonna look at the roof, the siding, the foundation. They're gonna make sure there are no glaring issues throughout the property that might be a surprise cost for them. So if they're walking through the property and they find out, hey, this roof's a little leaky, you got some water damage up here, this has to be replaced. Or they say, hey, the plumbing in the bathroom, the piping isn't great, you gotta replace that. They're gonna walk through and they're gonna give the buyer a list of, hey, here's everything I think the property needs to be worth what the appraiser said it's gonna be worth. And it's gonna cost this much. Typically, the buyer's gonna take that list and go, all right, fix that or I'm not buying. So you can either spend your own money, again, fix the property up, or you can reduce your cost, you reduce your price by the cost it's gonna take to fix a property. And lastly, you have contingencies, meaning the property isn't gonna sell, or the buyer wants to make sure that it gets a walkthrough. He wants maybe 2 weeks of due diligence, or he wants 2 weeks to do his own inspections on the property. Maybe they want a month for closing. They want the closing to be contingent on maybe your buyer is selling another property and using that money to buy yours. So your sale is actually contingent on him getting the money from that sale. So there are contingencies you have to talk about. And then negotiations. You have to make sure that the agent that's going to bat for you knows how to negotiate. And negotiations are not a bad thing. They're not a scary thing. They're just helping make sure that everyone gets what they need and that your wants and your needs are advocated for. Now, negotiations are typically going to involve changing of the price, maybe better terms like how fast can you close, if you can waive an inspection or contingencies. Okay, I'll fix this much of all the things that need to be fixed in the property. I'll fix 1, 2, and you can fix 3 and 4. Negotiations can take some time, especially if the property value is high. People want to make sure they're getting a good deal. So you have to find the right agent. You got to clean the property, it costs money. You got to stage the property, it costs money. You got to make sure that an inspection will be done. That'll cost the buyer money and maybe you money. Appraisal will be done, which can either help you or hurt you. And you got negotiations, which is just time, making sure your agent gets the best deal for you. And let's say you get through all that process, everything's looking great, you sign the contract. The amount of money that your buyer pays you is not the amount of money that you're gonna walk away from this deal with. Remember that now. A lot of people that I work with me because the amount of money that I tell you I'm gonna pay you is the amount of money you're walking away with. Let's say if I say $250, you're getting a check for $250. That's it. Typically, a buyer's agent's gonna cost 3%, and the seller's agent's gonna cost 3% too. And you might be thinking, well, that's the buyer's agent, that's not my guy, why do I have to pay for that? In your contract, the seller always agrees to pay for the buyer's agents unless you go in manually redact that part of the contract. But by definition, by default, you, the seller, are going to be paying for that guy's agent and your own agent. So expect that. That's about 6% right off the top. Could be as high as 7, could be 5. It depends on your agent, how expensive they are. The better the agent, typically a little bit higher commission. Well, usually it's an average of 6% for the buyer and seller together. So you got 6% there. Closing costs. Seller, you're paying the closing costs when you're going through an agent. When you go through a professional home buyer like myself, I pay closing costs. And I also pay the title insurance. That's something you can negotiate your deal too. So closing costs are anywhere from 1 to 2% of the deal. So now we're looking at anywhere from 6 to 8%. On top of that, You've got your concessions, and you've got other types of costs that come in. If you factor in the amount of money you spent on the staging, the cleaning, and other things, you're looking anywhere from 10 to 13% off your sale price. So remember, once you've signed all the paperwork, you've gone through this entire process, might be months, the amount of money you get, you got to take off 10 to 13% just to account for all the costs you're going to incur. And that's okay. If that's okay with you, that's okay with you. And that's something you need to make sure that you're okay with when you start the whole process. You don't want to get to the finish line, get handed a check for $100, and they say, well, I'm actually going to take my fee, my commission, my closing costs. I find people get very frustrated with that end process. When they finally finish the whole thing, they close the deal, and people are taking money out of their pockets. So, to summarize, you're going to have to interview the right agent, clean the property, stage the property, prep it for showings. Going to have to likely have an appraisal done, inspection done, might have to make renovations or repairs based on that inspection, negotiation, downtime for that, finally close the deal, and then you got to pay closing costs and commissions. Those are all the things you should expect to happen during your agent process. And again, there are many options for selling your property. You could sell with an agent, sell it yourself, or you can sell to someone like me, a professional home buyer. All that matters is that you're getting onto your next step, and I'm going to help you find the best option for yourself. So I hope that video was helpful for you guys, getting you a little more information on what you can expect to sell with an agent. And if you want to talk to me, you can DM me or you can email me at the email below. I'm still getting used to that. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, talking to you about some questions, or if you're looking to sell, let's have a conversation. Let's see how I can help. All right. Have yourself a great day, guys. Bye.